Guitar Dads Podcast, a podcast for guitar people by guitar dads. This week, Don Henley says take it easy about his singing. Wolfie comes clean about this legendary rocker and his guitar lore. Sebastian Bach reflects on wasted time, but is it just monkey business? And it's another gear-tastic episode. Philip was right, Zach's a genius, and Matt gets a sparkling clean new axe. Hear the screaming of the banshees this week on the Guitar Dads Podcast. Now, the guys who have popped and now can't stop, Matt and Dave.
Hello, everybody. I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave, and welcome to the show. Welcome in another episode of the Guitar Dads. Glad you joined us. What's up, man?
That was a long intro. This is jam-packed. This is chock full of great content for our listeners. It's amazing.
We are going to go on for upwards of like 5 minutes tonight. So, strap in. Let's go.
Strap in for all that.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, and it is going to be a gear-tastic episode. We got a lot of gear. In fact, the gear is going to overflow into Patreon. And so, if you want to support the show, but anyway, welcome to the show. And we thank our loyal listeners. And if you're new, thanks for checking us out. Come back next week. You know where to find us over at Guitar Dads Podcast on Instagram, and come join the Facebook group. And like I said, if you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/Guitar Dads Podcast, where for a nominal fee every month, or a nominal donation, I should say, not fee, you will get an extra episode and support the dads and keep the show going. And we appreciate all of our patrons. You guys are rocking it. Thank you so much. Deeply indebted to you guys. And that's about it. Let's shall we dive in, or what?
Let's
what do you think?
Dive into the dataverse. Busy dataverse.
It's a very busy dataverse.
Ooh, we're into it.
Into the dataverse.
The spaceship has landed. All right.
So we do have some news, and we will elaborate. We'll be able to elaborate on this at a later date, but we are really super excited to announce a sponsorship deal that we have arranged with Copper Sound Pedals. And Alex and Matt and I were chatting it up a couple weeks ago, and we are so excited to kind of partner with Alex and the gang over at Copper Sound. And so there'll be more to come with that, but you guys are not going to want to miss an episode, because it's going to be worth it for you. Anyway, so more to come on that. But
we're excited.
Let's get into. We're very excited.
We're
get
very
into some
excited
news
about that. Yeah, let's get into some news. Let's do it.
So this is actually really interesting to me. So we know that Kiss ended their tour, ended their career, essentially their performing career. I shouldn't say their career, but they ended their performing career. That's what they claimed in December at Madison Square Garden. That the legendary last two shows where Ace didn't show up or wasn't invited. And now they're gonna do like this Avatar thing. Like, I mean, whatever. But
so ridiculous.
As they've sold their catalog, their name and likeness and image to a Swedish company, Pop House Entertainment. Now, get this price tag. You got to guess. Well, you know what it is, but
I know what it is.
I was a little shocked. I mean, it's Kiss, it's Gene Simmons, and it's only $300 million.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like that's a little low.
Kiss isn't.
I mean, Springsteen sold his entire catalog for $500 million.
Yeah, but not. Yeah, Kiss, you're right. You're right.
Kiss, I gotta believe, could have gotten way more than 300.
And you're sure it's for 100% of the rights to all this? They don't retain
that's
some level of rights.
That's the article I read said 100% rights, and this company is gonna create this Avatar world and this performance, and tour the thing.
Wow.
So.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Like, you could argue, is that not enough money? I mean, $300 million is a lot of money, and you got to think that
it's all relative, though.
You got to think those guys have made well over $300 million in their career. So, is it a good way to go out? A nice little payday as a little retirement fund? I mean, these guys probably already have massive retirement funds. So it's probably a pretty good deal for them. Like, this is like
Yeah.
everything else I say when we hear about these artists selling their rights. I would be interested in this. Like, Kiss's music is out there. It's very iconic,
But it's not
but
just the name. It's not just the catalog. They're
I know,
selling
I
their
know,
name
I
and
know,
likeness.
I
That's a
know, I
bigger
know.
deal to me.
It
A
is.
much
It
bigger
is.
deal. And the reason for that is so this company can do this avatar thing.
I
I
mean,
think they were.
Is Kiss like merchandise and stuff flying off the shelves these days? I mean, maybe it is. I don't know.
I know for the collectors,
Yeah,
is that's a huge for any music collector, merchandise, memorabilia collector.
Kiss is
Kiss
a
is
thing.
always like at the top.
Yeah, so
I don't
maybe I
know.
don't know. Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it's too cheap for Kiss, but I don't know. I mean,
Well,
it's
Gene
one of these things.
commented at least the one article I read. Gene commented that they had seen the ABBA Avatar show and were blown away by it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm underestimating the value in these Avatar type shows. Maybe they're cool. I don't know.
I don't know
Um,
either. But look, these
but
guys had roughly a 50-year run. I mean,
yeah,
it's damn good. They go out with 300 million. I mean, look, be happy. It's good, am I going to go
with
see an Avatar show of Kiss?
no,
Hell no.
no, hell no.
But people will, I bet.
People absolutely will. It will be a big selling show. I'm sure.
Yep. Yep.
Well, speaking of going out, this kind of surfaced on the internet.
Speaking of
And
being old.
this is a video on the Wings of Pegasus channel. I'm not actually familiar with this channel. You sent this to me,
Yeah, I'm not
and
super familiar with the channel either, but it was basically like, if you believe what he was doing, it was basically like unequivocal proof,
yeah,
indisputable proof that Don Henley is lip syncing. Now, Don Henley is like 76 years old or something. Is that right? I don't know. You can just
I
Google it
will.
quickly.
I'm gonna Google it real quick while
He's
you
like
talk.
into his 70s. And to think that this guy, the Eagles tour was supposed to be, 10 or 15 dates, like a shorter kind of run. And it was wildly,
76. Yes.
he's 76. So I was right. It was supposed to be a shorter kind of run, and then it kept getting extended and extended and extended. Of course it did, because it's super popular and the crowds were there. They added a second night when I saw them in Boston. It's just, the demand is insane. So to think that this guy is going to perform day in and day out and singing like he does is kind of hard to believe. Now, is he lip syncing every single show? I don't know. I can tell you, you can go back and listen to my review of the show. It happened in September, I believe I saw them. Is that when it happened, Dave?
I think so. Yeah, we did a whole
something like
review.
that. I did a whole review. I talked about how amazing the singing sounded and how I thought
Maybe that's why.
Didn't sound like they were running tracks, but maybe they were. I have no idea. Maybe they were. And if they were, that's what it is. But this guy, it's kind of interesting, because I'll explain to you what he did in the video. You can go and look it up. But what he did was, this guy is some level of audio engineer, is what he is. And so I think he does like guitar and audio engineer type stuff. So he basically had two separate videos of the performance of Desperado. One was taken in 2023 and one was taken in 2024. And he isolated the Don's vocals from each track, from each video. These were fan taken videos on iPhones, and he kind of isolated the background noise as much as he could, and he isolated the vocal track, and then lined them up, the vocal tracks from each video, and they were absolutely identical. And those of you that know something about audio and how to do recording and stuff, you can never get something absolutely identical unless it's absolutely the identical track, right? Like the whole idea of, it's an old studio trick to double track things, to do the performance twice, because you can never get the performance exactly right. So you get this cool kind of stereo effect when you do things twice, right?
That's done a lot.
That's been used in the studios forever, and that's why it's done that way, because it's impossible. Like, I could talk to you and say these words I'm saying right now, and then record it again and say the same exact words in the same time and the same thing, and it's not going to be the same. It's just the way the human voice works. So he proved
I find this interesting.
Yeah, he proved it to just say this is exactly the same track. There's no disputing it. The lines that he put it in the
everything lines up.
He put it in the recording, in the software. You can see it lining up. You can see and that's what it is. So, are we supposed to be shocked by this? No, I'm not shocked that a 76-year-old guy is doing this.
I want to get into this more in the Patreon because I think this is a really interesting topic. We've talked about tracks, we've talked about all this sort of stuff, but our buddy Philip at 40 Watt Podcast was I don't want to speak for him, but one of his points was, which we'll get into in Patreon, is that a lot of people, they just want to kind of see. To me, it's almost like, and I don't think this is exactly what he was saying, but it's like, to me, it's like a sports analogy. Are you going to see the laundry or are you going to go see the team?
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to music, there's no laundry. I don't want to see the bodies of the Eagles. I want to see the Eagles perform as they are right now. I don't want to see, I don't want to hear Don Henley the way he is at his best. I want to hear a live rock and roll show. And if he doesn't sound great, then he doesn't sound great.
So I think we've talked about this a lot when it comes to Vince Neil and other acts. People don't care. So when I look back,
that was Philip's point as well.
When I look back on the show I saw the Eagles, I said it doesn't sound like they have tracks. I think I might have even said maybe they did have tracks. I'm not that, so like, if I look back and I say, oh, was all that tracks that I heard when I look back, I had an amazing time. It was the Eagles. They performed these amazing hits. It was Vince Gill. It was Vince Gill. Yeah, well, I mean, I'd like to think that the guitar playing
you see my point?
I'd like to think that the guitar playing was, but look, here's the thing. Even if it wasn't,
I had a great time.
I had a great time at the show. So that's the bottom line. I had a great time on the show. It was the real guys on stage. I mean, it didn't look like they were avatars. It looked like they were real people. So
it all comes down to like as a consumer, what matters to you most. And if it matters to you to see the people in the room and experience them playing something in the same room as you, then great. That's what you will receive. But if you're hoping to get as live as possible of a performance, I think nowadays, especially with these older bands, and we've talked about this a lot, there's no guarantee that's exactly what you're getting. And not even with younger bands, that's no guarantee you're going to get that.
And all right, I mean, we're going to get it. This is going to go down a path, but
let's not go down this, but save this for Patreon.
We'll get into a little bit more, but I think the bottom line is the jury's out whether it matters. For some of us that are musicians and that do perform live, and we kick our own asses trying to get out there and perform live and sing in key and play the bright notes, it's a little annoying to us. But at the same time, I'm not, a lifelong rock star in my 70s. That has adoring fans that are dying to see me, right? Like I have to go out there and prove myself every single night when I'm on stage. These people don't have to do that. So then at that point, does it matter?
Well, that's not true. See, this is where I disagree. I think they do have to prove it because they have to prove that they can still do it. And my point is this:
I don't think they have anything to prove. You think Don Henley's got something to prove after his career?
I think if he's out touring, he's trying to prove that he can still do it. And if he's using tracks, he can't still do it. And that to me is kind of it does tarnish the legacy in a way, if that's exactly what he's doing. We talked about this with Mick Mars and Nikki Sixx with Motley Crue, and
all right, let's table it because this will keep going.
This could
go on. If you guys
want
to hear about this, we're giving you the hard sell on Patreon this week. The reason we're doing that is because a lot of this is meaty, and we want to get to all these other things. So anyway,
we're going to continue this
discussion, but let us know what you guys think on this. So
anyway, we did get a clarification. This is actually kind of a cool thing. I'm glad Wolfie came out and said this because not that he doesn't really give a crap, but You know, in the guitar world, in the Eddie Van Halen, you know, in the Eddie Van Halen world, people care about this.
Yeah, I saw this.
Was his original guitar, was it the Frankenstein or the Frankenstrat? Right. And it never really got clarified. So Wolfie was interviewed recently, and he did say it says Frankenstein on the case, but Eddie never really had a name for it. So
yeah,
there you
that's
go.
right.
Okay, we cleared
Eddie
it up.
never referred
you
to
heard
it.
it here first.
Never. Yeah, apparently, Eddie never referred to it as Frankenstein or Frankenstrat or whatever. So that's what
just
Wolf.
became
That's
like
from
a
Wolfie.
name. Yeah, yep, that's from Wolfie.
There's a little Van Halen, you know, clear up for you.
Yeah, a little Van Halen trivia for you.
That's right.
So speaking of older rockers, Sebastian Bach was the subject of a recent interview and kind of made like tiny waves in rumors, because the current, well, no longer current lead singer of Skid Row, Eric Cronwall, he had to leave because of health issues with his voice.
He did, yeah.
So he is now out. And I believe for good, from what a couple articles that I read.
Yeah, it sounds like it is.
It sounded like it's kind of done. So, because he just can't continue singing. And so Sebastian was just, you know, casually asked during an interview, you know, what about a reunion? Is this the perfect time to slide back in? But he has not spoken to those dudes since '96.
That's
the breakup,
crazy.
Which is nuts if that's actually true.
If that's actually true. That's crazy that he hasn't spoken to them since the breakup. But now he's coming out and saying, like, let's do it. Let's reunite and let's do it. He can't sing like that anymore.
I was just going to say, speaking of can't sing, I don't think he can sing now any of those tunes. I think it's almost going to ruin that kind of legacy for me. You know, I don't know. Listen, Skid Row wasn't like, you like them a lot. You like them a lot more than me. I think they're great, but I think that if you put Sebastian Bach out on stage right now and expect him to sing these tunes, that were mostly on that, what was it? Was it the first?
Yeah, the first album,
big album. Yeah. He's not going to be able to do it.
He can't do it. Look, I've seen some live performances. I find it very hard to believe that he could do it. Maybe they do it in different keys and all that. But look, I don't hold it against him, just like I don't really hold it against Henley. I don't hold it against him that he can't sing like that. He had one of the most amazing voices in that whole era of hair metal and glam metal, whatever you want to call it, glam rock.
Oh, yeah.
He had one of the greatest voices. And the fact that, you know, he's not going to be able to maintain that in his old age, like, fine, I don't hold it against him, but you know, to think that he's going to be able to do that and it's going to be good and it's ridiculous.
Totally ridiculous. So, but do the fans need this? Because this is the original band.
Look, just like Axl, the fans are absolutely loving Axl, and Axl can't sing like he used to sing. But he gets through the shows.
He does.
And they're on a juggernaut tour now for the last freaking 10 years almost. Not 10 years, but 8 years.
Yeah, but I mean, as much as I don't know if you can make the comparison, because I think Guns N' Roses is as much about Slash as anything else, right? So I think that's what the fans are showing up to see.
I think for us, that's true for us. It's not true for everybody. You know,
no, it's not true for everybody.
The diehard Guns N' Roses fans love Axl.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. No. Of course they do.
Yeah. So,
but I think night after night, I think a lot of them are showing up because they do want to see Slash with, you know, you're not really seeing the original lineup anyway. So it's not really, it's definitely not an apples to apples comparison, but, are all the original members still alive in Skid Row?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not a big enough fan to know.
And are they even all together? I don't even think the whole band.
I don't even know who's really in Skid Row, to be honest with you.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So we'll see. I mean, Skid Row, but that debut album was just unbelievable. It remains to be like one of my favorite albums. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great album. It really is. All right, shall we move into our favorite segment, or a fan favorite segment, bands you should be listening to?
Yes.
Now, truth be told, this is another Apple algorithm band for me.
Yeah.
But
But
when I heard them, I had to go back and listen to their entire catalog. They have been around since 2009, although I think they've put out material since maybe 2013 or 16. They have a number of records out. This band is called Bad Touch, and they originally formed in the UK in 2010. I'm sorry, they formed. And their newest release, you can check it out. It was released in 2023. Listen, these guys, let me describe these guys for you.
Describe them.
It is an amalgamation of it's all like, it's very classic rock. Let's just put that term out there,
which is what we like.
But it really is like Black Crowes meets Led Zeppelin meets the Allman Brothers meets funk meets they do a lot.
All right, I love it.
And they're fantastic.
So Dave
really does have like a Black Crowes kind of like feel to it too, which is something that Matt and I love.
Dave pushed this one through today. I never even listened to him.
This is what you do every time we do a segment like this.
I know. I'm like, oh, wait,
these guys are great. I never listened.
I'm like, I didn't listen to them yet. No. I'm admitting I haven't listened to them. So Dave pushed this one through, but I think this is a good shout, and I definitely am going to be listening to them tomorrow. And I will be checking this out, and it's really cool. By the way, the Black Crowes, Happiness, what is it? Happiness Bastards album is absolutely awesome, and I highly recommend you guys go and listen to it. It's really, really good. I mean, look, it's good. I'm not just like saying this because I'm a big Black Crowes fan.
It's really good.
It's really good. The guitar sounds are awesome.
Yeah, it's riffs, fantastic.
You'll laugh, you'll cry. It's a great album.
Yeah, I think you cut out there for a little bit, so I'm not sure if the listeners heard you, but yeah, it's a pretty. If we weren't sure if the Black Crowes could do it in the studio, I mean, this thing is. And I'm going to go see them. Classic Black Crowes.
I'm going to go see them at the end of the month in Boston at the MGM. Dave's going to be on a flight to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So, that's too bad for him, but I'm going to be
on a flight to Hawaii the next day, but I can't.
I know. Like, what?
Then you go to a show and get home at like,
do it.
I can't wake up at 4:30 in the morning after getting home at like 12:30, 1 o'clock. I just can't do it at my old age.
The bassist in my band, you guys know her. You know her and love her. She played a gig last Friday night, and at like 5 a.m. the next morning, she was on a plane to her tropical vacation. So,
no, it can be done.
It can be done.
It can be done, but she's like a superhero or a super like she's got superpowers.
Maybe she does.
That doesn't exist for most people.
Maybe she does. I don't know.
Anyway,
she definitely does when it comes to playing bass. But
Matt, you know what time it is? Anyway, so Matt, you know what? At work, we named my printer Bob Marley because it just keeps jamming.
Did you say PC load letter? What the F does that mean?
Okay. All right. All right. Sit down. Thank you. All right. Very appropriate applause right there. All right. Let's get into
was I supposed to hear the applause, Dave?
Did you not hear the applause?
No, I did not hear the applause.
Uh-oh. Well, I heard it. All right. Anyway, let's get into our listener mailbag segment.
Ooh, listener.
This one is from a new member of the Facebook group, At Guitar Dad's Podcast. Go join it. Chris Turner. He says, I put a Duncan hot rail in a Telly. Is that an abomination?
No.
I don't know.
Of course it's not.
Matt's frozen right now. Matt.
No, I'm not.
You're not frozen.
I'm right here. I'm good.
No, you can put whatever the heck you want in a Telly.
So
that's a great pickup.
So we're talking to this, and I Googled it. They actually make a Hot Rails for Telly pickup set. I don't know if you know this.
Yes.
It's Seymour Duncan Hot Rails for Telly.
So
they make one for Telly, so of course it's okay.
Do. Of course it's okay, but Chris, maybe I'm not understanding. I understand where Chris is coming from with this. Because Telecaster is such like a classic guitar. Should you have certain pickups in it? I don't know. I think, first of all, Seymour Duncan makes like absolutely crazy killer pickups. And I think, and they do make that set. No, it's not an abomination at all. You put whatever pickups in your guitar that you want, because it's a taste, a season to taste kind of thing.
I think I agree. And people put humbucking pickups in Tellys all the time. That's what the Deluxe is. So it's like, I think if you want that sound, I mean, put the hot rails in it. I mean, what's the big deal?
Yeah. So there you go. There's your answer from
I think it's a good way to get like it's like a poor man's Telly Deluxe. Because you just used a hot rail. That's what hot rails are, right? I'm not super familiar with hot rails, but my sense is they're basically like a humbucker pickup, but in a single coil like footprint.
Yeah,
that's the whole idea behind them, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I'm not as familiar with.
Yeah, them, yeah. I think that's what they are. So yeah, man, that's awesome. Rock on.
Rock on, man.
Rock on.
Rock on. All
and
right.
Here's the other thing. Like, it's your guitar, so you do what you're going to do.
You do what you want to do.
Said.
You do it. Yep. Do what you want to do. All right. We are going to get rolling into our gear segment.
Ooh.
Gear, as I said, gear-tastic episode. We got a lot to talk about.
It really is a gear-tastic episode. It really
Where do you want to start? Because we really could start anywhere. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. We got the new Epis. You got I got a new guitar and a pedal I could talk about. We have some other gear news that hit. We could talk about that. Where do you want to start?
I don't know.
Are you frozen again?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not frozen. For you, I might be frozen, but I'm not frozen to everybody. So,
all right. Well, Elsa, you look frozen to me.
Yeah. Yeah, but I can hear you, and you're not dropping out on me, and I'm not dropping out on myself. So I think we're okay. So let's go with it.
So, all right. All right. Let's. Well, then I'm gonna review.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to talk about these new Epiphones because I think they're absolutely ridiculous, and we should talk about them.
All right, let's go. Let's go on the Epiphones because I'm so excited about these. I was looking at them last night and drooling over them while I was sitting in a dark house during a power outage from a storm.
Oh, man.
That kept me happy. These things, wow.
So why don't you just give the listeners, we're not one of these podcasts that tells you everything, but just give the listeners an overview of what was announced this week with Epiphone.
So essentially, Epiphone has announced this like custom shop line.
Yeah.
And they're going to, it kind of covers like the iconic shapes and style guitars that you know and love from Gibson.
So inspired by the Gibson Custom Shop, which is a continuation of the ones that we've already discussed, the Firebird, the Dave Grohl. Right, that was originally a custom shop, and now they're releasing all these other ones. So, Dave, what do they get? What have they released?
So they did release some acoustics in this, which we're gonna highly focus on this week. No, so we're gonna put those.
What a boring.
We're gonna put those aside.
Although the acoustics look damn cool, but anyway,
they look beautiful.
They really look nice.
They really do. But yeah, so we're gonna focus on electrics. So they put out, just to give you the list, they put out a 59. Les Paul Standard.
Yep.
And a few different finishes. There's a 63 Les Paul SG with a Maestro Vibrola.
That's so cool.
That thing looks freaking sweet. There's a 59 ES355 and a couple different color options there. And there's a Les Paul Custom, which I think is a little bit underrated when if you listen to a lot of people talking about these.
These are really cool.
Really cool looking.
These are cool.
And those are the electrics. And then we can go into the other ones, the acoustics. We've already talked about the Firebird. I think now these are rolling in at $12.99 USD. So I think for that money, because you're going to get a set of custom buckers.
Yeah.
You're going to
So
get
talk about that. Yeah.
the CTS pots. You're going to get all all the wiring, the harnessing, everything that is in, um, a higher end guitar for this price. So you're almost kind of getting. Now, we didn't talk about. We kind of forgot to talk about the most important thing that everybody obsesses over with these Epiphones, which is the headstock. And yes, you are going to get the Gibson headstock.
Yeah, just like they did with the Greenie and with the
Yep.
Adam Jones. They are now doing that with these Les Pauls, that the customs and the 59s. So that's pretty cool. So you're getting that open book headstock. It still
Yep.
says Epiphone, but you're getting this open book headstock. And these, I look at these, they look really, really nice. So the Les Paul, the 59s are like an aged look. They almost have like a matte finish on them, but they look great. And like Dave said, custom Bucker pickups, orange drop capacitors, all that stuff that you would expect to get from a custom shop Les Paul, you're getting on this, which is pretty cool, but it's still an Epiphone for $1,300. So,
Right.
you make up your mind on that, like we talked about when the Firebirds were announced, right? So, yeah. So what do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think this is we did talk about this exact point was made by both of us at the time during that episode, that this is kind of just the territory that you're getting into now with Epiphone. If you're going to be, the knock has been for a long time about the Epiphones and their quality, and are you really getting your money's worth in general?
Yeah.
They have really pumped it up several notches here, and so I think there is now no doubt that you're getting a quality instrument here.
Oh yeah. I mean, look,
so you kind of have to expect to pay a little bit more for it. If you're going to get the better accoutrements, then you're going to pay.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, this is why I was comfortable paying for the Dave Grohl, because I just loved it, so I was comfortable with it. But it sounds great with the USA electronics in it, the pickups and electronics and hardware. It sounds really great. It sounds much better than any Epiphone I've played. It just does, and it feels good too. So, I think they're onto something here. I really do. Yes, you have to be comfortable with over $1,000 for a Chinese-made guitar. But here's the thing.
Well, they've set a new market. They really have set a new market here.
Yeah. But they're not
brand.
the first.
So,
I mean, they're not the first ones to charge a lot of money for overseas-made guitars, right? So, but this is it's a different thing. When you're used to $700-800 and now it's twice that, you're like, wait a minute, not quite twice that, but you get the point. You're like, wait a minute, what the heck is going on? But I think you're right. I think they've seriously stepped up the quality on these. They look great. I can only go off of how my Dave Grohl plays, and it plays great. So I'd love to get my hands on one of these and try them out. And I really love the customs. The customs look fantastic, right? So, and I think it's a cool way to get yourself into these, just like we talked about with the other ones that came out. It's a cool way, if it's just out of bounds, that you're not going to buy a 63 SG Custom. I think those brand new from the custom shop now are around $6 or $7 grand for the SG Custom with the Vibrola. We talked about how the Firebird that is the Firebird that has the Vibrola on that one is the Gibson Custom Shop version is $7 grand or something. And we know that R9s are completely out of control expensive. I think the non-Murphy Lab R9s are hovering right around $7,000 now.
Which is insane.
And if you want a Murphy Lab, you're 8, 9, 10 plus.
8, 9, 10. Yep.
So that's really unattainable, even in the used market, for a lot of people, right? For like, I do have designs on eventually getting myself an R9, and I'll scour the used market and see if I can get myself a deal. So but at the same time, like, I don't know when I'm going to do that, because even if you get a deal on one, it's over $5 grand. And over $5 grand for a guitar for a lot of people is completely ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous for me. Let's just be honest. So if you want these things with these accoutrements, like Dave said, there's a good word for your accoutrements.
Love that word.
Then these are for you. So
yeah, and I think if you look at guitars in general and prices in general, everything's obviously going up.
yeah.
And I think if you're looking for and, you can't, I don't, you got to be really careful because you can't call, I mean, we're talking about Epiphone here, but you can't call these like, and these are certainly not in their beginner line at all.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
if you're somebody who does complain about Epiphones not being, meeting the standard of quality that you want, and you're looking at, then you have to be willing to pay a little bit more to get what you want.
So
Now,
let me ask
compared to
you.
like a Gibson USA, this is the steal because you're getting a lot of what's in those guitars.
No, no, I agree. And so here's the thing, though. It's like if you're somebody like me and you that don't really have a hard time paying for a Gibson USA. Not that we don't have a hard time, but like we justify the cost of a Gibson USA. We're people that we feel it's worth it, and we feel that, we don't own a ton of them, but each of us owns one or two, and we feel comfortable with that, right?
Yeah.
Why would you
I mean,
why would you buy? I mean, I get that these are less than half the price of a, well, if you get a deal, look, if you get a deal on a good Gibson USA, I think, Dave, you got yours, or maybe I don't know if you're comfortable saying it's about $2,000 that you got yours, maybe a little over.
yeah. Well, it was a
Right.
demo though.
Yeah,
It was
but
on,
if you search if you search the used markets, you search like the Gibson
yep.
demo shop, you can get one for a little over $2,000.
Yeah.
So that's like,
2250.
yeah, so that's like, $1,000 more. And if you're really gonna invest in a guitar, why would you buy an Epiphone instead of that? If you're somebody that really doesn't have a hard time with that $1,000 of a difference, like what's going to attract you to the Epiphone versus just finding a good priced USA?
It depends on what you're looking for in the USA. If you're somebody who's looking for, the look of the guitar as well, then, and you don't want to spend the money of a USA and you can't find a good deal on one, then I think these Epiphones are for you. Because the issue is, I think, I think you can find a lot of good deals on an American made on a Gibson like let's use the tribute models for example. If you're not somebody who needs like that's like the flame,
If you're not, that's a great point. If you're not into flame tops, but also if you're not into flame tops, you can get a really good deal on a USA because it's the flame ones that go for more money.
Correct. Yeah, you get a great deal.
Yeah.
But for even less money, if you are somebody who's kind of into that look of the guitar and you don't want to get into that, 2000 plus range, then you're gonna for a standard, then you've got to be looking at these Epiphones. I think there's definitely deals to be had out there, and like in USA made Gibsons, like a traditional or some of the you can get some of the other like flamey-ish kind of tops under 2K if you look.
So yeah, so I made
that. If you're willing to spend the time searching,
I think you're right. So I made the case why I think these are a good idea, and now I'll make the case why I think they're a bad idea. And you just hit it on the head. If you search hard, you can get a really nice flamed out, made in USA Gibson standard with Gibson on the headstock for about $2,000, right? So that's $800.
And that matters to people.
Exactly.
Why does this matter so much to us? But it does.
Yeah, but it's $800 more. That's a lot of money for a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. Like, don't get me wrong. It's a lot of money.
In a lot of cases, that's a whole new guitar.
It is. It is. So that's the case, right? But if you're somebody that like really wants a Gibson, and this is what it is, I'm going to tell you right now. Just go do what we just said. Go find a well-priced Gibson and be done with it. Don't use this to scratch your Gibson itch. Because I'll tell you right now, it won't go away. Maybe it will. I don't know. Maybe it will, but probably not.
That would have been part of. Actually, after you said that, that made me realize that kind of is part of my argument for these things. Like this will scratch that Gibson itch. I think if you don't want to spend that kind of money, and a lot of people don't. Let's face it, a lot of people don't.
You're right.
I think the vast majority of people don't, if they don't have to. And if this is enough to scratch that itch, you're getting so much for your value, for your money here. And I think this is just what we're going to continue to see from Epiphone. And especially with these artist guitars that are coming out, I don't know. I would love to know the next artist, the next our signature model
let's
that's
hope
going
it's
to come out, but it's going to
let's
be
hope
in
it's a
that price
let's hope
range.
it's a Jimmy Page. But
It's going to be in that. Well, you never know.
But
It's going to be in that like $1,300 to $1,600 range.
When I say scratch the Gibson itch, I mean
it sounds like you got something there.
People who want Gibson on the headstock. Now you might say that's really superficial. That's ridiculous. Why doesn't he say Gibson on the headstock? Because
it's a weird thing.
Gibson
for us, right?
has the effing logo themselves. It says, not the logo, the slogan that says only a Gibson is good enough. When you buy a Gibson, it says that on it. There's this thing that comes, I don't know if they still do this because I haven't bought a new Gibson in a long time, but they used to have these things that came on that covered the fretboard, and it said only a Gibson is good enough. So like for Gibson's an aspirational brand for a lot of people. And for a little bit more, not a little bit, but a decent amount more, but not a ridiculous amount more, you can get a real Gibson rather than going for one of these things. I mean, that's my argument. Like, just go find a good deal on a Gibson, then spend
the deals can be had out there. But some people like me, are very impatient. We spend a little bit of time searching, and then you can't find something, and you kind of just you kind of acquiesce and you say, okay, well, that I can't find what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to make that leap and I'm just going to go for it. And I'm going to go with one of these Epiphones.
And I'm also going to say something. Maybe people I think you're right about that, Dave, but I'm also going to say, I think some people might find this a little controversial. Those snobs out there. I'm one of them. But because you
are one of them,
but because I don't own an R9, I'm going to come out and say this. And Anderton's did a great, comedic video, but a real video about the law of diminishing returns. It's a real thing. And I think totally real thing. I love my Gibson USAs. I love them. I love my Les Pauls, right? My Gibson USA Les Pauls. I love them. I've played a lot of R9s, and maybe only one of them I thought was any better than my Gibson USAs. I think you really have to get to a next level in the custom shop to be far superior for me personally to see that. Is it that much better than, is an R9 that much better than what I have? And I'll tell you the other thing, these new, and I have older Les Pauls before they started.
It's a personal preference thing though.
But no, it is. But I have older Les Pauls. I don't have the inspired by, 50s or inspired by 60s Les Pauls. Those I think get even closer to an R9. The 50s Les Paul standard to me is damn close to an R9. I played some great ones.
Well,
so
and I you're right. I think that's a good I think it's a good point.
So it's like I don't know. I mean, if you want Gibson on the headstock and you want that custom shop quality, only an R9 is going to do. But I think if you really are obsessed with Gibson, this is why they sell so many Les Paul standards. They're just amazing guitars. They just are.
Well, I'm going to make the converse argument here, because as much as I love my new standard, and I do, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And this because I saw the traditional that I sold go back on the market, and I almost wanted to rebuy it because I miss that guitar. I actually, if I had to choose, if it came down to it to pick one, I think I might slightly lean to the other guitar.
Why?
Because of the way it played. There was something about that guitar that I loved. Maybe there was some sentimental value because it was my first Gibson, my first expensive guitar.
Yeah.
But I just liked the way it played. And don't get me wrong, I love my standard. This thing is a killer guitar.
It is.
But there was something about that other guitar.
So you're right. There's always going to be that. But I don't know. This whole thing is to say, for me, kind of personally, and as someone that loves Gibson, I don't know that these Epiphones are going to do it. Now, for somebody that has no designs,
coming from somebody who just bought the DG.
Yeah. But the DG is justifiable to me because you can't get a Gibson DG for any reasonable price. They're like 20 to 30 grand.
No, you can't.
Right. So that's out of bounds. But there's other analogs to the Les Paul that for me,
yes,
like we just talked about, it's not that much more expensive, right? to get
it's attainable
Gibson
if you
USA.
try.
So to me, it's like, why buy a $1,200 Epiphone when I can spend $800 more and get the real deal? That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So
I get
and you might argue, no, and that's the argument I made before. You might argue, well, no, Matt, these are supposed to be like the custom shop, and those things are $8,000. That's fair. If you see that, then these are for you.
Yeah, I would love to do a side-by-side comparison before making that call, but that's never going to happen.
There'll be plenty of them before we get to YouTube. Plenty of them on YouTube.
Yeah, there'll be plenty. But again, it's personal opinion. So let's get to these really quick. We're going to go into a lot more detail on the Patreon.
Oh, we are.
But I just wanted to shout these out. The Mythos Herculean Deluxe.
Yes.
Finally, oh my God, that thing is just
everybody's freaking out about this thing.
Insane. It's so good. It is. I mean, Zach just outdid himself with this pedal. Absolutely insane. Really quick, because I know we're coming up on time. This is a dual pedal. It is the Herculean, his old Herculean drive pedal on one side, and the left hand side, and the Runestone, which is his take on the Blues Breaker on the right side.
But he's added a lot of cool features.
But he's added so many features. So just the fact that, I mean, if you are a tweaker and you want to find so many different tones in one pedal, this is the pedal for you.
Yep.
You know, the Herculean side comes with there's a level and drive on both. You can run one into the other and switch them. There's 4 different dip switches inside if you want to fool around with that. But from what I've read, everybody
that's
is really
crazy, by the way.
And I am too. The way it was shipped, you know.
4 dip switches? Who am I? Josh
4
Scott?
Dip switches?
What the hell's going on here?
I know. Yep. No, I'm sorry, not 4. Are there 4 dip switches? Yeah, I think there are.
Maybe there are. I don't know.
I think there's 4.
Oh, wow.
I think there are.
Okay.
And on the Herculean side, there's a clarity knob, which is great if you have like I've just scratched the surface with this thing.
You're scratching the surface.
Fooling around with it. There's so many adjustments you can make on this pedal to get any kind of tone you want. And I think when Zach says this is your drive section, he means it. I really believe that. This thing is incredible. So more to come on that. And then I also will talk about this on the Patreon. I finally ended up getting a PRS DGT.
Yes.
SE. I did not get a Cormo.
Well, no, the SE, which is
American,
one of the most like anticipated guitars that came out last year. And I'm tempted by them as well. They look incredible.
Feels freaking unbelievable.
Yeah.
I love my other SE. And I am not one to be messing around with a tremolo mainly because anything I've ever owned has been, cheaper and never stays in tune. This thing takes a beating and keeps on ticking.
Amazing.
So it really holds up.
It takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
Keeps a licking and keeps on. What am I trying to say? Takes a licking. Oh man, what a night. Anyway, have I gone on enough?
I love it, man. Well, no, but tell us about the DG. Tell us a little more about it.
That's great. It's a guitar. It's got 6 strings. There's 2 pickups and 6 tuners.
Yeah, but what the pickups sound great in it, and it does the push.
The pickups sound
what
great.
Does it have a push pull or
it's got a push pull.
I
split. Yeah, they got a split. I still can't get used to the arrangement of the knobs and where, like the location of the knobs and where they are and what does what.
Yeah,
because it's a little bit different than what you would expect.
Yeah,
but I mean that's like the least of your worries. This thing's a killer guitar
now,
and I definitely think it's worth all the hype.
Now some of the nerds, guitar nerds on Gear of the Year were complaining about the placement of the pickup selector switch. Have you had a problem with that or no?
I actually kind of like it in a way.
Well,
because I can see the reasoning behind it.
Okay.
If you're playing, I always have trouble. I had trouble on my Les Pauls. If I want to switch quickly, I have trouble getting up there consistently. And having the selector in the location that it's more off to the side, kind of in the, I don't have to look at it to explain exactly where it is, but more on the side. You can easily hit it.
Nice.
You know, and it doesn't take much. It's just like you take your hand off the bridge and boom, boom, done.
Nice.
And then you're back. So it's let me see if I can pull this up, and maybe this will get on Instagram here.
What will? Oh, you're gonna pull it? You're gonna show it to us? Dave's picking up the guitar. Oh, he almost knocked over his guitar on his guitar stands.
Oh, I almost like hurt my back.
I know. Jeez, man, you're gonna hurt yourself. Oh, look at this thing. I love this.
But see where the selector is?
At least it's out of the way.
It's out of the way. And so you're here, you know, you're playing, all of a sudden you're done, and it's it's great.
You can see why he wanted it there. You can see why. You're right.
So I think it's well placed.
Well played.
So, good on you, David Grissom.
Good for you, Grissom. What?
All right.
That's just what his name is.
Because I know it is.
Good for you.
Right,
yeah, Dave's on a gear tear. And
I'm on a freaking tear.
He's on a tear, and I love it.
I got another pedal back there I should talk about. I got another one on the way. Oh my god! All right,
I've been on a gear. Just so everybody knows, I've been on a gear. What do we call it, Dave? Like a
hiatus?
Not a hiatus, but
I've
purge.
Been on a purge. You've been on a purge.
I've been on a gear purge. I've been selling all this stuff because I ordered a guitar. We'll talk about that later. And and then I kind of got like a fever.
Well, leave it on the let's leave this on the main episode as a tease.
It's a tease.
And we'll take this to Patreon.
But I will tell you, I got like a fever. I started selling. I was like, I got to move a few things to fund this. Then I got like a fever. I'm like, why don't I move that? Why don't I move? I don't play this thing. I don't play all these pedals. I don't play this. And I was like, let's just sell it. And I was like, I got like selling fever. So
he refused to sell anything to me.
So, well, no, you refuse to buy it. That's how it works.
Well, the prices you were asking, screw you. I need my friends and family discount.
Yeah, no, I know. All right, so yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the guitar that's on.
Tell everybody what you got. What are you buying? What'd you buy?
Well, it's coming. It's a surprise.
Oh, okay. We're not going to talk about it.
Surprise.
If you're curious what it is, go back to the intro. There's a tease in there. If you know what
it's
we're
a
talking
surprise.
About, then
that's what it is.
All right. When it comes, you
can follow us in the Facebook group and follow us on socials, and maybe you'll see a picture of what's coming. If you're really that interested about it,
stay tuned. Oh, who isn't interested in this thing?
It's going to be pretty epic. All right.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty epic. All right. Well, I think that wraps up this week's show. But thank you for sticking around. If you are new to the show, we hope you come back next week for a lot more fun. And one more thank you to our loyal listeners, and an extra thank you to our patrons who keep driving this thing for us. We really appreciate you guys and your support, which is exactly where we're going to go right now. But again, if you want to check us out at Guitar Dads Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook, come join the group and head over to patreon.com/Guitar Dads Podcast if you want to support the show. We love you. All right, Matt, I think that was this week's Guitar Dads Podcast.
That's it. Keep rocking that. Catch you on the